Next up is our own Vice President of Critical Minerals and Strategy Supply Chain, Deb Bennethum. She is leading the company's U.S. Rare earth separation efforts and sales efforts because we're going to be producing these rare earth products. We need to sell them, and there is a lot of demand for these materials around the world. And Deb is going to speak to that a little bit. Her topic today is why Energy Fuels rare earth separation in the United States matters. So everybody, welcome Deb Bennethum.
All right. Well, welcome again. As Curtis just said, my name is Debra Bennethum. I joined Energy Fuels about 16 months ago, and it has been quite a ride. And it was just interesting. This morning, I ran into a gentleman that I've met before, Paul, and I started to tell him about all of the things that we're doing. And he said, "Stop, Deb, stop. Like it's showing in your face." So we're really on a great journey, and I'm really proud to be here today representing Energy Fuels and telling sort of why this journey is needed and the progress that we've made to date. So before I get into it a little bit, like what Anna talked about, her journey here. So as Curtis mentioned, I'm VP of Critical Minerals, working on those supply agreements. Before I was here at Energy Fuels, I was at General Motors for 13 years, and I worked on sourcing critical minerals, lithium, nickel, rare earth, sort of everything for the EV future. So when I met Mark Chalmers, our CEO, about 3.5 years ago, and he shared with me the vision, what they were doing. It was really exciting. I needed to learn more. I learned more. And as time went on, I realized this is really, they have a differentiation here where they're going to process monazite, as Constantine talked about, and that has this naturally occurring uranium and thorium in it, but they have the knowledge, the permits, and the ability to do that. And that's what really differentiates us and makes us really important for trying to have independence, secure resilience, and supply chain resiliency here in the United States, away from some of the strong, basically giant China, but the geopolitical sort of adversaries that we have. So with that, is it showing up? That's a little bit of my journey here. So a little bit of an education, and this might be a little bit of a repeat from what you guys have already heard today. So rare earths, there's 17 elements. They're all really difficult to say, which is why most people use the abbreviations here from the periodic table shown there on the left. But they're very used in a lot of applications: defense, EVs, automotive, ceramics, catalysts, all over the place. The core I call the Fab Five that I'm going to really focus on here today, which is neodymium, praseodymium, dysprosium, terbium, and samarium. And those are all products that Energy Fuels here is going to separate and produce here in the United States. And all of those are used in what we call these rare earth permanent magnets. And it might be hard to see here, but there's 5 steps to make a rare earth permanent magnet. You have the mining, you have the separation, which is what we here do at the White Mesa Mill, and you have the metals, you have the magnetization, and then you have the rare earth magnet manufacturing. If you look at the chart, and I'm going to bring it up again here in the next slide, you can see there in the center, really, China leads the way on the separation. And that's really the same point that others have made. I mean, they lead the way on all of the steps, but you can see in the middle part of the supply chain is really where they have their focus, and where they have the ability to sort of just own that part of the supply chain. And this is really sort of just saying the same thing again. Why the urgency? Can you imagine, as I said, they're used in all these defense applications and EV. Can you imagine where, for all the things that Leland talked about, and that we have to have for defense, for drones and everything else, all of that has to be sourced from an adversary country. That's really what we're at today. So that isn't science fiction. It's really our reality. And that's why I say what we're doing here is super important. So it's not science. There's a chart here on the left-hand side from Benchmark, which is an industry group that sort of charts all of this. And the yellow is really the NdPr, which is what the team here is making. That's all owned by China. So that whole, I just put the China flag there, but that's pretty much, you can see India, Malaysia, US, they have small portions. And that's what we're trying to get a market share gain here. And again, I would point out with the red arrow there, that's the oxides. So that's that second step in the supply chain here that we're going to be doing here at the White Mesa Mill. And really, we have almost no domestic production. But after we ramp up, we have the ability to make 1,000 tons per annum that you guys will see on the tour if you haven't went yet. When we ramp that up 5 times and move that up to 5,000 tons, that number will greatly change. That will be world class. And we will be able to feed that oxide into all of these rare earth permanent magnet makers that are currently getting all of their material in China. So as I mentioned, all the defense systems, I have a fighter jet here, the radar, missiles, radars, etc. They all are relying on this NdPr, this Dy, and this terbium to make these rare earth magnets. China controls over 90% of that today. We're going to fill this gap as we expand our plant here to produce not just 5 times more NdPr oxide, but also the Dy and the Tb, which are known as the heavy rare earths, abbreviated there. So really, again, I just leave this slide with saying it's not about business. I mean, yes, it's business, it's good business, but it's also about removing a single point of failure that we currently have in our supply chain in the United States today. And now I'll look something that is near and dear to my heart, I guess, too, something that I know a little bit about. Like I said, I was at General Motors for 13 years. In addition to all these defense applications that use the rare earth permanent magnets, you also have a big use case in automotive, and not just EVs. Everybody hears about the EVs. Yes, a large amount in the drive units, but also in internal combustion engines. And down here at the bottom of this slide, I have a vehicle, just showing all the different places where you may not know that there is rare earth permanent magnets in your vehicle. Sensors, cameras, steering, wiper motors, turbochargers, etc. So, without domestic processing, which is what we're going to do here at White Mesa Mill, we are importing all of these critical minerals at a premium right now. And when we expand our facility here, this is something that all of the automotives and the tier ones will be able to get this material here domestically. And then just down at the bottom, just for everyone's knowledge, as you're talking through this, on average, an EV currently contains about 1 kilogram of Re oxide. So that's based on about 2.5 kilograms of a rare earth permanent magnet in all those applications within your vehicle. And then, just I think really Utah, and Constantine talked about it a little bit on the education and how China's kind of leading the way here. But really, I think in the United States, Utah is leading the way. And I'm super proud of that. So as I put here, it's high value, high tech processing that is happening right here, which you guys are going to get to go see here in a little bit if you haven't been on the tour yet. We're creating skilled jobs here, right here in Blanding, that that's only going to grow as our processing facility grows, and it's really going to be a great opportunity here for the community. And I just would say that for every step that we add within the U.S., the separation that we're doing here, the alloying, the magnet making, that's going to have a multiple impact as that industry grows in the United States instead of abroad. So why Energy Fuels? Again, I think we've hit on this, but we're really uniquely positioned. We're the only facility that can process both uranium-bearing materials and light and heavy rare earth separation here in the United States. We have made sure that we have feedstock security. Right now, we'll talk when you go on the tour, that feedstock that comes here from the United States. The ore, the monazite, came from a company called Chemours. But we have 3 developing projects in both Madagascar, Brazil, and then the Donald project, which is in Australia, which will be supplying us the feedstocks that will be ex-China in order for us to make this material here in the United States. So as I mentioned, we've shown that we can scale this. We started out at a lab scale, which you guys will see on the tour. We went to pilot plant scale, and then in June of 2024, we announced that we did 1,000 tons per annum of the NdPr oxide. So we've really shown that we have the technical ability in order to meet the specs that are needed for this high purity oxide. And really, like I said, right here in Utah, we have a world-class technical team that is on par with China, making this high purity separated oxide, and we're only going to continue to expand and grow that. And then I'm just going to end it here with a quote from our Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. And I completely agree with this. We cannot outsource our national security. The moment we depend on our enemies for critical resources, we've already lost the first battle. Thank you.